I'm Julie Knapp. I graduated from Syracuse in 2009 from Newhouse with a degree in television, radio, and film. And now I live in Los Angeles and I work in TV casting.
Hence why we are in, and I will just show right here, the audition room. Lots of bright lights and a camera. You are working now on a show that will end quite soon. That's kind of how a casting associate, casting director, whatever you might call it, works. Tell me about your gig. What do you do?
Well, I work freelance, which pretty much everyone in casting does. Unless you own your own company or are employed directly by a studio, you work freelance. Doesn't matter how high up you are. So I change jobs every 3 weeks to about 2.5 months is one of the longest shows I've been on. So it's a constant search for a new job.
Is that terrifying or thrilling, or a combination of both?
It's a combination of both. Sometimes you get a little bored if you're not in love with the show you're on, so it's nice to be able to say, well, you know, for 2 weeks I could do anything. It doesn't matter, you know, what your thoughts on it. Also, it's very, very scary sometimes not knowing where your next paycheck is coming from. But you have to be very good at networking out here. It's, you know, it's very cliche to say it's not what you know, it's who you know, but it really, really is who you know. And it's all about not burning bridges. The show I'm working on right now, this is my 4th show with the same casting director. So every time she gets a show, she gives me a call and says, hey, you know, we need an associate on this show. Can you come work with me for a month or 2 months or however long the show is? And, you know, when you make a good connection, they call you for jobs. You don't call them.
So is this kind of what you thought you'd be doing when you were at Newhouse, or were you not really sure?
When I was at Newhouse, I sort of didn't know that casting was a job. It's not something that's really talked about a whole lot in Newhouse, which is sort of unfortunate, to be perfectly honest with you. It's a huge, huge part of this industry. You could have the best script in the world, but if you don't have the actors to go along with it, you know, it's not going to be great. So when I was at Syracuse my senior year, I sort of figured out that I wanted to do casting, but there wasn't a ton I could really do about it at the time. But once I graduated, I started a production internship in New York City, and then, you know, slowly but surely made my way into casting, and have been doing it ever since, and will hopefully be doing it for a very, very long time.
So what's the message to students who might want to do this? I mean, you were trying to make it in New York, and that was living the dream and trying really hard, and then you pulled the plug, and out to LA you came. How important was it to move to LA to do this?
I can't speak highly enough of moving to LA. All of my roots are on the East Coast. My whole family's in New Jersey. I grew up there. So I grew up a half hour outside New York City. In my mind, growing up, it's not even that I thought I was going to live in New York, it's I knew I was going to live in New York, and I knew I was going to work in the entertainment industry in some capacity. And when that wasn't working out, I sort of went into panic mode. Like, why isn't this working? This is what's supposed to happen. You're supposed to graduate from college, move out of your parents' house, and get, you know, your dream job in the city. And I was living in the same bedroom I grew up in, working at my dad's law firm, and interning part-time in New York. It just wasn't working, and I called my friends who lived in LA, who moved here right after graduation, and they didn't take a whole lot to convince me to move out here.
Yeah.
But I sort of, with 3 weeks notice, packed up my car, shipped my car out, and I flew out all within a month. So it was just amazing. And, you know, not everyone is as lucky as I was to be able to have friends out here already, to, you know, have someone to crash with, and not have to worry about having a roof over your head for a couple weeks. But the Syracuse contingency out here is just out of this world. Everyone, it's a nice little community, and every office out here has that Syracuse guy. There's another Syracuse alum that works here. We have a Google group that if you're going to move to LA, go to the Syracuse Production Jobs Google group, and it's everything you could need.
That's awesome. So what makes, I mean, a successful, you said casting wasn't really talked about much in school. So what should a student know about this gig? Like, what makes you a great casting associate? How do you know who's going to be awesome on show X? I mean, how do you do it?
A lot of it is instinct. And again, it's one of those things where it's like, I can't describe it, but I know it when I see it. Cool. It's how people come off on camera, because you know, you could shoot emails back and forth with someone, you could call them on the phone and have them be one person, and then the second the light goes on the camera, there's and they don't know what's going on, and you know, it's intimidating to have a camera in front of you, right? Like, this is very, very weird. I'm always the one behind the camera. So maybe I'm freezing up. I'm a perfect example, like, oh my god, why is there a camera looking at me? But, I mean, it's all about how people react to the camera. It's, do they rise to the occasion, or, you know, do they fumble? And it's just as likely to fumble as it is to succeed. I'm going to say, if you're an actor and you're coming out here and you want sort of that aspect of it, make sure you go to every audition that you're booked for. It sounds super, super, you know, basic, but we book people from 11 o'clock till 5 o'clock, and I would say about 75% of them show up.
Wow.
And that's an interview thing, that's an audition thing. If it's up to the person who's interviewing you to decide if you're good or not good for something. That's not your call. You show up if you're booked. And if you have an interview for a job, regardless of what industry it's in, don't be like, well, you know, I'm really underqualified, maybe I'm just not going to show up. When I came out here, I was underqualified for every job I applied for, and thankfully someone overlooked that and gave me a job. So let that person decide whether or not you're right for it.
Last piece of advice, for someone who's still in school, what class should they take? What group should they get involved with? What should they do now to best position themselves for success out here in LA?
Let's see.
Tough one.
Yeah, it is, right?
Or is it really just about getting here and making the connections out here?
Well, I think the best organization I was involved with at SU was University Union.
Cool.
I knew I wanted to get into the entertainment industry. I wasn't positive to what capacity that was going to be, and I joined there. And I got so much experience that really helped me when I was first starting off, as far as I know how to talk to agents on the phone. I know how to look over contracts and riders. And I know it doesn't sound like UU has anything to do with casting, but it's talking to the students and seeing what their interests are and what they're going to respond to. You have to get, you know, the demographic input. So UU, I think, as far as almost any job in the entertainment industry, it's a really, really helpful thing to have, you know, in your repertoire, to be able to say, I booked, you know, acts like Bill Cosby to come to Syracuse, and I dealt with his agent, and I, you know, picked them up from the airport, made sure they got to their hotel, and made sure that the show ran smooth. And it's pretty impressive to be able to say that, like, before you even graduate college. It's so useful to have some real life experience and get internships.
All right. Fantastic. Julie Knapp, class of 2009. Thanks, Julie.
Go Orange.